Mr. Sound Engineer, are we all on?
One moment, please.
All right, I'll go ahead and tell me to.
Yes, we're ready.
Fantastic. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the GODSU Tuesday Icon Talk. I'm your host, Cairo, from Cairo Speaks, Cairo Right. It's absolutely my pleasure to be here to be interviewing two moguls. What does that stand for? Moguls are men of God, unlocking legacy successfully. And I like to think of the moguls as men of God's you, like unlocking legacy successfully. And we have two moguls that will be speaking with us. The first is His Excellency Dakar. But before we begin, let us pray. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for waking us up this morning. I just want to thank you for blessing us, allowing us to resume the GODSU Tuesday talks. We know that there are people who are really quenched and needed their thirst quenched for the knowledge. And so we're here to just give that knowledge over to hydrate those who need the knowledge. In your name we pray, God. Amen. Well, first we'll begin with our sound engineer, His Excellency Dakar Eubanks. His Excellency Dakar Nile Alexander came from very humble beginnings. His mother, Reverend Dr. Diane Moore Eubanks, and his father, Dr. Willis Eubanks, owned a mortgage and real estate company, Active Settlement, that was very successful from the year 2000 to 2009. This is when the real estate market crashed, causing his mother, father, Dakar, and his two sisters to become homeless. The family of five moved 15 times in a 3-year span. This part of Dakar's life impacted him to excellence as he was driven to never be homeless ever again. When Dakar was only 10, he was inspired to be an entrepreneur. He started with small but impacting tasks such as shoveling snow and raking leaves. His Excellency aimed to support his family and would do everything to help his family financially. He learned how to cut hair at the age of 7 and began to practice on himself and others. In middle school, Dakar established his first company, Dakar Kicks Restoration. Dakar used his artistic ability to clean and customize sneakers for his classmates and teammates. The business was doing so well at the time that his parents would often ask him to help with the bills and then reimburse him. An honor roll student, Dakar significantly impacted GODSU Global Open Day Seminary and University. At the young age of 22, His Excellency Eubanks has been very studious in learning several skills, giving him multiple tasks for GODSU. These include being a co-director on the Board of Governor at 18, as an accountant, a manager of the IT department in graphic design, and one of the heads of the Junior Ambassador Program. Dakar serves GODSU as a board member and dean of the chaplaincy program. He's learned how to combine his skills to recruit over 20 volunteers from local high schools to work with in the university. He has identified and provided assistance to underprivileged youth in the area of scholarships, computers, and housing. Dakar is currently a student at Broward Community College, majoring in computer science. He has aspirations of building corporations to benefit struggling communities. He is a registered marketing and branding agent for GODSU and its affiliates in 79 countries globally through its United Nations nonprofit NGO. As a 22-year-old CEO of Dakar Marketing Tools, his mission is to identify, promote, and elevate his clients. These clients include businesses and personal brands throughout these 79 countries, as well as domestically in the United States. Dakar Marketing Tools specializes in local design, business card design, as well as photo and video editing. Dakar, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
So I have 3 questions for you, Dakar. And it's just really remarkable seeing the progress that you've made as a young man. You've inspired so many with your classic style and your professionalism, especially as it relates to design and marketing. The first question I have for you is, what is the importance of legacy?
Yes, I think legacy is extremely important. as the amount of people you can touch while you're living is limited. However, when you build a legacy, the amount of people that you can touch as you pass on are infinite.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree, especially when we talk about how, our impact can really make a difference in so many different lives. Can you imagine that one individual can completely change the course for hundreds, thousands, even millions of people just through the actions and the legacy that they've left?
Yes, and I want to add something. And when I think about what you said about one person being able to touch all those lives, I think of Steve Jobs and Henry Ford, who were the inventors, are founders of the iPhone, which is one right here, and also the Henry inventor of the first car. So we use those objects every day. So it touched millions of lives. So yes, that's an example of legacy.
Yes, millions and even billions
Yes.
with a B, when you think about the sort of impact that these leaders have had on the world. I mean, their names will never be forgotten. And so, in the sense of legacy and what it means to leave a legacy, oftentimes you're given the charge to empower others, right? And so when you leave, your legacy is still here. How do you empower other male leaders, especially youth?
Yes, so I empower male leaders when when they see my personal and business achievements, and because I'm business savvy in a professional way. For example, people admire how I dress and present myself, and they also admire how I ensure that both businesses experience a win-win experience when conducting business.
Thank you so much. And, what would you say inspired you to dress the way that you do?
Yes, it was actually from the teach and pray that we do in the morning, 7:45 to 8:05 Eastern Time. I wanted to present myself and look professional, so I learned about classic style and learned about how to tie a tie and a bow tie and how to use colors to combine. So, with that being said, how your overall grooming can make a difference, or how you present yourself.
Wonderful. And, the thing about it, when it comes to leaving a legacy, and you talk about the legacy that you want to leave, obviously you followed in the footsteps of someone else. Someone has inspired you to dress the way that you do, the way in which you interact with your clients, your professional, busy, business savviness. And my question to you would be, who are those people that have inspired you to be the person you are today?
Yes, so those people I have the pleasure of working with every day. Those are both my parents. They, from I was very young, had me around business meetings, and the employees would say, "Oh, they're too young to be in this meetings," but they're like, "No, they must learn." So learn professionalism, and also my grandfather. I admired some of his style, and I'm actually wearing one of his ties as a pocket square. I created into a pocket square, and I wear a lot of his clothes. I tailored them so they fit. So those are my top three. Um, I'll say people I like to follow for business and professionalism.
And I have to say that I remember being, that little kid, the youngest one, or among the youngest when he was around. going to these business conferences and people thinking that we were so cute. Well, yeah, I'm sure we were super cute, but for us, the exposure, I would say, was absolutely invaluable because we had an opportunity to sit literally at the feet of giants and listen to the conversations that were being had, having vocabulary that was very extensive and well beyond our years simply because of the exposure that we had. Just, the conversations that we overheard, the dialogue, even the mentors that we were able to make from a young age. It's been really indispensable for us. So it's just wonderful hearing what you have to say about that, and then talking about our grandfather, Dr. Charles A. Moore. It's so symbolic seeing you wear his pocket squares the way that you do, and having a physical reminder of the gentleman that he was. I mean, he was always well dressed, always well presented, and was an astute businessman. And so, because of him, he was able to pour into his family, in his generation, and his legacy. And then, it was like a domino effect, but the domino effect of a good kind, right? Where, it starts off with one person and then they inspire and influence the other person and then the other person. And next thing you know, you have communities of people who've been forever changed as a result of your existence. So, just seeing you wear that pocket square, seeing how you turned it in from a tie to a pocket square is just so tiny. I actually have this book teaching our father, Dr. Willis Eubanks, how to tie a bow tie. And I actually took that video, and I wanted to ask you if you could just talk a little bit on that experience, as well as what our father has taught you as a Mogul.
Yes, so I mentioned earlier that when we were younger, about 6 years old, like her excellency Cairo said, we were invited to these meetings, and of course we had to present ourselves correctly. So my dad would teach me how to tie a necktie, and I paid him back a favor about a week ago and teaching me how to tie the bow tie. So that's a part of how you can touch and legacy, and you help somebody you don't know in the future. 20 years later, they may help you too. So thank you for that.
Of course, and it's wonderful. The student becomes the master, right? And the teacher becomes the student, and it was just really humbling to see that cycle. And you can check it out on Facebook. We actually have the videos uploaded on several different Facebook pages just to highlight the beauty of teaching and mentoring, right? And also leaving that legacy, teaching someone how to dress savvy, right? And then they're in turn able to pass that on and teach you something as well. So we all have the opportunity to learn from each other, and it's just awesome seeing you really be able to repeat that and reciprocate that learning and that legacy. The last question I have for you is, what are some challenges that you've had to overcome in order to become the leader you are today?
Yes, so thank you for asking that. I had to go through is learning how to I need to learn that not everything is going to be easy breezy. So I need to learn that, okay, I may have made a mistake, but I need to turn into a lesson and how I can use that to better myself. So that's how I'm able to use that to be a leader.
Such a good point. Oftentimes we see challenges that we're confronted with, right? And when you're humble, when you're optimistic, when you're able to see the bigger picture, it's so much easier to be able to see those solutions, right? And when you're not able to see the light outside of the tunnel, right? Instead, you see problems. And so this is a learning lesson that I think is so important to share to cars, that we have to be able to really see the lessons and to be humble. I know you to be someone who can take constructive criticism and can take it well if someone wants to share something with you. Why? Because you want to get better. You know, you don't let. I just want to say it's been a pleasure speaking with you and letting everyone hear something, you know, from you, because oftentimes, you know, as a sound engineer, you're busy making sure that everything is maintained, you know, making sure that everyone can hear properly, everyone is able to speak. It's also wonderful hearing you speak as well, especially about your experiences. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so as you all know, this is the GODSU Tuesday Icon Talk. And the purpose of this talk is to interview locals, interview leaders, interview servant leaders who are integral to GODSU, who are associated with GODSU, who are supporters of GODSU, simply because we want to show and highlight some of the distinguished people we have in our network, as well as inspire you, because guess what? The whole purpose of us having these interviews, of having our graduations, of just existing, is to be able to inspire, empower, educate, and uplift the masses, one individual, one impact. So with that being said, I have in front of me, or really beside me, a very handsome man by the name of Dr. Willis Eubanks. And I actually have his bio right in front of me. His Excellency Dr. Willis Eubanks is Vice Chancellor of Global Over Day Seminary and University, GODSU. Along with his very talented deans and board members, he trains the world on entrepreneurship, computers, and financial literacy. GODSU, a 501c3, federal tax-exempted and nonprofit educational institution, GODSU's motto is 111. Yes, one race, human, one space, earth, and one embrace, love. Dr. Willis is a public trustee on Miramar Police Pension Board. He's also a servant leader at his local PTA and SAC, School Advisory Committee. He mentors young people by serving as a Goodwill Ambassador for New Future Foundation, Inc. and Jamaican chapter UNGO-NFFIJA. In December of 2018, he was the recipient of the Made Man Distinguished Leader and Advocate for Change Award. He was among over 60 men who were nationally and internationally distinguished in their respective areas to receive such an award. The Made Man Initiative is a national multi-tiered 501c3 corporate and community engagement initiative designed to honor the extraordinary achievements of notable male figures. The undeniable influences of these honored men of distinction, have sparked great admiration for their leadership, lifetime achievement, social consciousness, and their significant contribution to the community and national empowerment. Currently, Dr. Willis is becoming a subject matter expert on cybersecurity, teaching courses in the following areas: A+, Security Plus, and Pen Test Plus. Careers in cybersecurity have increased due to a growing need for organizations' networks to be protected and defended from cyber attacks. The average salary for cybersecurity specialists is $75,000. For more information on our cybersecurity courses, please contact Dr. Willis at 1-800-704-0954 extension 117. That's 1-800-701-0954 extension 117. Dr. Willis, it's wonderful to have you here with us tonight.
It's indeed my pleasure, and I think this is the first time being interviewed by one of my wonderful daughters, Cairo, and it's an honor to be seated next to His Excellency Dakar. It's quite an honor, and I have my other beautiful, smart, brilliant Princess Sudan here in the background as well. So thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure.
look at you, you're just surrounded by your legacy, right?
Yes, yes.
And so just to hear people on the line, those who are under the power of my voice, just to hear the humility and his voice, it's just so telling of the kind of legacy that he is leaving for us, you know, and seeing this kind of gentleman with his kind of background and accomplishments just give all of the glory away from himself to God and to highlight those around him. That's a legacy worth keeping for sure. Yes, absolutely. So my question to you is, what are some examples of leadership traits that a GODSU mogul such as yourself have? Leading into that question.
That's a very good question. I think servitude is at the top there. Muhammad Ali mentions that service to others is the rent that is paid for us to serve others, and I think it's quite an honor. I'll start with my mom. You know, she volunteered at when there were no male Cub Scout leaders around. She volunteered to set that up. She volunteered to be the Boy Scout leader. So I attribute a lot of early influence on my mom, and for volunteering, she really believed in it, and so we continue that legacy that she's still alive, but that living legacy that she's left for us. And so you're never too big to serve, and when you serve others, you actually get more back than you least expected. One of the early groups that I joined, I'm really proud of, is 100 Black Men in Washington, D.C. I joined them when I was in my mid-20s, and the reason I did it was because, number one, you know, Mom gave that importance of volunteering to others, and so we men, Eric Holder was actually a local president for our local chapter of 100 Black Men in Washington, D.C. He was later on to become the Attorney General of the Obama administration. But we used to go to a homeless shelter and tutor every Wednesday, young folks, and we would be there sometimes week after week, and we'd see them, we'd help them with their homework, and then maybe the following week they might not be there. So it was kind of a blessing that they were able to move on. But we also adopted a school in Southeast, and still have that school, and you know, helping, you know, a lot of times, especially as males, in serving on the PTA and serving on the school advisory committee, a lot of males say, you know, I like to volunteer, but what do you do? And what I found is just your presence being there in the school systems. You know, I know early on I would go to lunch with my daughter, Sudan, and it was almost like bragging rights. Hey, my dad came to have lunch with me. I'm special, you know. So just being there, and so we're excited about some opportunities where we're going to have intentional opportunities where males can get involved, starting with their own homes, and be intentional about raising godly children, divine children, and in the neighborhood. So we can talk about that a little bit more, but does that answer your question, Sensei?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you did a phenomenal job answering that question. And it's, like I said, I mean, just the way in which you've raised us to be servant leaders and to really give from the heart, openly, without asking for anything in return. I'll just say a really quick story. I remember I must have been, what was I, like 12, 10?
Yeah, about 14,
I think I was younger than that, Dad. I think I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was definitely right a little while before we had to move so many times. And you know, when I was growing up, I grew up in suburbia, and I didn't quite understand what struggles were, right? And I remember there was one Christmas where my dad actually woke us all up super early, and he told us that we needed to get dressed. He asked where he was going to take us. I remember thinking it was Christmas. I got heels on. So I was 12 years old, and I was already wearing heels. I got my little like 1-inch heel on, and I was all dressed up and ready to go. And he takes us not to the mall to get new toys, but he takes us to a soup line.
Yes.
And
Some others may eat.
yes, some, so others may eat. Yes, I remember that. And I remember initially being really disappointed because I wanted to get toys. Why were we here, you know? And it wasn't until I started to give to others and to serve. They actually, because I was frowning so much at the beginning, they made me go to the front to greet people. I was a greeter.
Yes.
And, you know, naturally that smile just came right out. And I realized something, that I was grateful that my dad did not take us to the mall, but instead he took us to be able to serve others on Christmas. And that was the greatest gift that I could have been given. I know that's such a cliche. It sounds so corny, right? But it's true. And that memory has stuck with me. And the ways in which I've been able to give back, even through college with the initiatives that I had, it was because of you setting that example, that foundation. So thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, thank you.
And I do have one other question for you. My last question would be, what are some of the challenges that you've overcome to become the leader you are today? And if, for those who are listening well, this is a question that I did pose to His Excellency Dakar. I'm posing it again to you because you have taught him, you know, and you've helped him get through a lot of the challenges that he's had. I want to hear about the challenges that you've experienced.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency Cairo. You know, with regards to challenges, I guess two things. One is, you know, I'm a leader. I lead by example, and sometimes it's a little hard to delegate. But there's power in delegation. There's power in numbers. There's power in being able to share, and so opening up and you know, asking for help, asking for suggestions, advice. You don't always know the answers, but the answers are there, if especially in groupthink. And so I think overcoming the shyness and overcoming leading by example and doing more delegation. Dr. Diana is an expert at that, and so she's taught us well. And so I'm learning that you can do more. I think it was, I believe it was Henry Ford who said that he would rather have 1% from 100 people than 100% from one person. And so, you know, that says it all right there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Willis, and also Dakar. Thank you so much for being on the line and just allowing me to interview you. And it's just wonderful hearing what you have to say, because I know you both very personally, right? But it's wonderful seeing you in this light and hearing some of the perspectives that you have through, you know, your own vision, right? Instead of just an outsider looking in. I'm so proud of the both of you for all that you've accomplished and will continue to accomplish. And it's just a blessing being more part of this founding family. Well, everyone, there you have it. Today, it was just wonderful. We're going to be transitioning now to the second part of the call, where we'll have our chancellor taking over. We're going to transition now from Facebook Live to just the conference call. So for those who are on the line, who have been loving everything that you have been seeing, thank you so much for being here. And for those who will be graduating, those who need to be on the call, please make sure that you're on the 301 number. You should have received that information. And without further ado, we're going to transition right over to our Chancellor, Reverend Dr. Diane Moore Eubanks.
Good afternoon, all. This is Diane Moore Eubanks. I am so pleased to be on our first call for December 6th to 9th graduation. Let me make sure we have everyone on the line. This is the call. Can you look at the roll call?
I can't at the moment. We're ending this stream.